Hey friends, it's Jurosai here. Hope you all are doing well and staying creative. In this video, I'll be giving some tips and tricks on how to use cinematic effects and Foley to create these like weird background, ambient, glitchy, percussive grooves, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it, but essentially these ear candy sounds to make a track sound more interesting and also just give it a little bit of that spice to make a track stand out. Anyway, if you're trying to get in touch, the best way to reach me is on Instagram at djdurosai, or you can also send me an email, djdurosai@gmail.com. Alrighty, now let's get into the video. Alrighty, so here is the effects slash glitch section. These are all my samples. What I've done is I've created this 32 bar motif, this 32 bar loop, and that's essentially what's repeating for the rest of the track. And I got all of these from Splice. So there's a lot of these computer effects, these video game effects in here, little computer sounds, and then there's these sci-fi ones from the sci-fi pack, and these are all in the cinematic effects section of Splice. So you know, what these have been created for is film and video games. So there's a lot of Foley and stuff in here as well. But I think they sound really cool for minimal tracks, especially want some nice little ear candy sounds. So I'll first solo this effects section and then play it, and then I'll play it again in the context of the track. Okay, so you've got an idea of what the sounds are like. Now let me play this with the rest of their stuff. We'll start here. This is like the same. This is like the beginning of the loop again, but there's more drums here. So with the drums, as you can hear, it really adds a nice layer of complexity to the percussion. So even though these are background effects, I still want them to tell a little story. So with this, like I said, I created this 32 bar loop, which is essentially like my short story of ambient effect sounds. And I want these to flow and transition and just sound really nice together. So when I start this process, I get all the sounds that I think will fit this track and I just lay them all out. Once I do that, I just puzzle piece them together to figure out what order will work best. So, you know, really at least in my case, I find that the first sound is the hardest. It's kind of like, you know, writing an article or a book. Like that first sentence is always the hardest one. But then once you get that down, everything kind of just flows together. So in this case, I have my first sound as this mechanical sound, this like Foley effect sound. That's the thing that starts out the groove. And then that transitions into this like tonal sound. So I'm having this flow into the tonal stuff. And then from there, I have these two sounds that are responding to that. So I have a lot of call and response going on here. That's kind of the backbone of this is really is like, you know, you have a sound and you have another sound that's like responding to it so that the sounds are having this sort of communication between each other. So let me play this again. I'll solo the effects. Got this computer sound, this sci-fi sound. And then here I'm doing something similar where I have this like computer sound flow into another sound, and I'm using delay to just kind of transition those together. So both of these channels have an echo on them. When it comes to making this call and response stuff, you don't want to be too predictable with the placement of your sounds. So what I mean by that is, you know, this sound right here, it starts off the sequence, so it's on the first bar. Now, the predictable thing to do would be to put your response sound on, like, say, the 35 bar mark. So that'd be exactly, you know, 2 bars away. And then having this sound come at 37. So essentially just giving 2 bars between all these sounds. But that you know, that sounds very predictable. Instead, I have this coming at some like weird offbeat kind of thing. So, you know, if I play this with the context of the drums, it just sounds a little bit more organic when they're not exactly on time or exactly on intervals of like 2, 4, 8 bars. Especially when it comes to stuff like this, which is a little bit more, you know, these are just effects sounds in the background. They're not like melodies or anything like that. So it's okay to have these sounds off grid because it actually just makes them sound more realistic and natural, like they'd be in real life. Because, you know, obviously in real life, they're not going to be in such perfect intervals. So another thing that brings it all together is panning. Panning is super important because it really adds a huge sense of space and movement. So I have sounds that are panned to the left, some to the right, and then some down the center. And typically what I'll do is I'll have, you know, one sound that's panned left, and then the immediate next sound is going to be panned right. So you have that movement from one side of your head to the other. So here you can see on this channel, this is left, this is right. So, and then over here, this is also left and right, but I just have some echo on it. So if you can see here, we're going from right channel, now to left channel, then to right channel, then back to left channel. And then this sound is back on center. So as you can see, there's a lot of movement from left to right, right to left, and then it all comes back to the middle. So when it comes to creating that sense of space, panning is one aspect of that, but the other thing is reverb. So I also make use of different reverbs that give the sounds a different space to be in. So I have 2 different reverbs going on here. So the first one is a more close-up reverb, and that's coming from Valhalla. It's pretty short reverb, 0.8 seconds, so like 800 milliseconds. And this is a very close-up, in-your-face sort of reverb. And then I have a second reverb, which is down here. And this reverb is a little bit more far away. I actually need to change the settings on this, decrease some of the high cut, maybe make it a little bit longer. But this is a more of a hall reverb. So this is gonna make sounds just sound very big and spacious. So by using a combination of the short reverb and the big reverb, you have this depth in your mix. And when it comes to these background effects, that's gonna help a lot, just creating that sense of ambiance. So with this sound, because it has the big reverb, it's gonna sound a little bit farther back in the mix. And then with this one, it's more up front and up close. So I have 2 different categories of reverb that I'm using here to give that closeness and to give that sense of distance. So lastly, to glue it all together, quite literally, we have the drum bus and glue compressor, and this is on the entire FX bus. And so the glue is gonna fatten up the sounds, give a little bit of saturation. It's also gonna bring up the volume of the quieter sounds. And the glue compressor is doing a pretty similar thing, minus the saturation. It's also compressing some of the louder sounds, bringing up some of the quieter sounds. So that's just bringing the sounds together and making the whole thing sound fuller. So those are some tips on how to use cinematic effects and Foley to create these ambient background percussive grooves. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, of course, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want to contact me for mixing, mastering, private coaching, anything like that, you can reach me on Instagram or email me, djdurosai@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay creative, my friends. Peace.